Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nadica Angova Kolevska. I come from Skopje, North Macedonia, and today I'm going to speak a bit of something which started as an initiative on which me, together with my students from the architectural department, worked on. So basically, it's all about detecting weak points within our cities. Case study of a Strumica Central Square started as an initiative for us to detect certain open spaces within the town, which is one of the largest towns in the southeastern part of North Macedonia, in order for us to figure out how can we add some content and how can we add life into the existing open spaces, especially within the squares, which our researchers has shown that they're not functional at the moment. So on the map presented here, you can see the square which was under our field of investigation on which we made a research of. When we started the research, we were like, okay, let's make a research of open areas, open spaces within the town which are lacking content in order for us to make them more attractive. Logically, we started from the center, but we didn't hope that we will end up here as well, because within the center we had an enormous monument which belongs to one of the most famous revolutionaries in North Macedonia, Goce Delchev, and we thought that it is like a square, it has a content, it has a historical value, and it is what it is. It is among all the most important governmental institutions, public institutions as well, and there is nothing we can do about it. But fortunately, surprisingly, we were wrong. Why? Because the entire focus was on the square itself, without calculating that behind the monument we have almost 2/3 of the square which are completely out of functions. First of all, before I start with our intervention, I would like to give you a short brief about the historical movement and the historical development of Strumica. It was the period of the 1960s and 1970s when the town started its biggest urban transformation. It was a Yugoslav architect, Dimitri Aleko, who defined the axis which need to lead through the central area of the city. He imagined for a city where all the streets, main streets and secondary roads and streets need to lead to a certain point, or a central point of the city where people can meet and can discuss in between. These are some images of the old Strumica in the period of the 70s, and as you can see, the city compared to today has been growing up revolutionary. So from unreinforced masonry ground floor buildings and structures now and earthen structures, we are now transformed into a city of reinforced concrete and building structures all over the town. This is basically the intervention that we did. So you can see the Strumica Square, which is covered with tile with a rectangular shape, and of course, within this area downstairs, there is a revolutionary monument that I have previously spoken about. The part behind the monument is basically the one which wasn't used at all. First of all, we had a struggle with the students about whether we need to orientate to the monument and made a focus to the monument itself in order for us to integrate the half of the square which wasn't used at all. But afterwards, we were like, okay, the monument itself has a value. There are people gathering there. There are community things which are happening there. There are political events which are happening there. But maybe that is the main reason why the other half of the square is completely ignored, because the entire focus goes to the monumental area which is happening in front. That's why we started to do another approach in order for us to give life to that area which is completely unmaintained nowadays. First of all, we needed to detect the weak points of the square in order for us to get an idea what makes that part of the square unattractive. First, inaccessibility. Women with a stroller, disabled people, ramps with not inadequate, which were very steep, didn't allow people to move through that area of the town. Of course, there was some urban equipment which was located, but it was located without any precise schedule of what needs to be done. Local government made some attempt to redesign that area because they personally consider it unattractive at all, and they put a fountain in the middle, which can be seen on the image below. They put a fountain in the middle of the thing. When you don't know what to do, just put something in the middle and you think you will resolve the issue. But it's not the case in every single urban regeneration. Why? Because the fountain itself was higher than expected and it blocked the movement from the top. Because from the highest to the level point, we have a distance in between 3 meters and more. Of course, afterwards, the access. A good thing that our government did 10 years ago was every single street was transformed into an underground street. So as you can see here, there is a tunnel which is passing from the north to the south, and basically the entire Strumica Square is now transformed into a pedestrian street, which was not a case 10 years ago because there were streets which were passing through the square, which is under our field of inspection nowadays. As I have spoken previously, on the field cover filled with blue, you can see the fountain, the existing one, which blocks the movement, which we propose to be removed. Of course, we needed to detect the weak points in order for us to be able to improve them. So we proposed for a fountain to be removed. We detected the unfunctional ramps, which were not steep, which were very steep for people with disabilities and etc. And of course, we decided to do a facade renovation of the existing restaurant, which is presented on the second picture. Of course, a possibility for new ramps, which would have been slope enough, were proposed, and an interesting case were the ventilation box. What I forgot to mention is that below the square, which was under our field of inspection, there is a commercial center going on. There are a lot of stores, there are clockwalks, there is a bakery. And we were like, okay, let's remove those ventilation boxes. But afterwards, we decided and we all agreed that these spaces and this content would stay after us. And maybe the main reason why this area was lacking greenery was because it's not allowed for high trees to be implemented because their roots can make problems for the commercial areas which are located in the underground. But it can be solved. It was not only up to us. In order for us to prepare and to design spaces which are attractive, we needed to ask the citizens. Because our detection was one thing, but the citizens and their remarks, because the citizens of Strumica are the primary users of the space, and we needed to ask them why are they not using the space enough. So first question we asked was how often do you use the square? And almost 40% of the people said that they pass through that area weekly. And how do you define the urban square? The largest percent of the people claim that it's not attractive because it hasn't anything to offer, and that's why they use all the pedestrian streets above it. They go to the monument when there are events happening, but they're not passing through the other part that I previously explained. On this image, you can see the chronological development of that area of the square. It all started in 2029, when the city square served as a gathering for the community, and the renovation of the square took place in 2011. Unfortunately, the level of the greenery was decreasing all the time. And in 2023, the last satellite, which you can see here, you can see that the greenery is almost, unfortunately, with less percent that it was comparing to the one 10 years ago. This is the intervention we did. So basically, we did an approach with an organic architecture, more fluent, greenery, low greenery, which will give life to the space itself. The ramps, the additional ramps with an adequate slope in order for us to make the space more attractive. Water surfaces, yes, may be located centrally, but with an interesting shape, and the shape itself should define your movement. It is not something like a disruption. It's something which can lead you through the space. So with additional contents to be added. Of course, we didn't turn our back to the historical approach, to the historical monument which was located downstairs, and not to forget to mention that below the monument there is another artistic gallery which is going on. So we needed to offer those people, after they visit the exhibition and whatever, to have a place to rest, to have a place to chat, to have a place to go outdoor, and to have different activities, to interact in between. These are some sections of our interventions. We projected all the equipment and all the facilities that we projected were low enough in order for us not to disturb the surrounding. And of course, it is what it is presented here on the images here. So the urban equipment, the differences within the levels of among 15 centimeters in order for us to make the space more attractive, more fluid, greenery, lower one because of the commercial center that I have spoken previously, and of course, lightening up. It's all about fluency, it's all about adding content in order for people to get to use that space. Even if you don't put an urban equipment, the organic movements through the pedestrian areas are presenting that we did something from the people and for the people. These interventions that you can see here on the images are basically the ones with the ventilation boxes which we needed to keep. Yes, it is something that needs to be kept because it is of service for the commercial which is downstairs in the underground, but of course we can make them attractive. We can mask them in a way in order for us to make them like a stage for further performances for people when they need it. This is the artistic gallery that I have previously spoken about. We added an additional entrance and access with a ramp with an adequate slope which will lead from the gallery to the area in which we're giving life to right now. And these are another images of people, how they can use and apply the square. Of course, the existing streets which lead from the monument to the new design squares are wide enough, and they're like basically the first step going on to the square itself. These are some other images of our intervention. And for last but not least, I would like to conclude that this intervention was only a step forward in order for us to propose what we can do with new proposed design open spaces. Because if a human feels safe in the outdoors, it means that we have done a good job. That's why we need to motivate people to maintain those spaces, because they're for them. If a person feels safe in the outdoor, it means that he will feel safe in the indoor as well, and vice versa. So everything we are designing is for the people, for the citizens, for the users, and of course, a communication needs to be added. That's why the interviews were crucial in order for us to find out what is missing and how it can be improved. Thank you very much for your attention.